HarperCollins presents Keir Starmer, The Biography, by Tom Baldwin, read by John Sackville. Introduction. The origins of this book can be found in another one that Keir Starmer started writing himself not so long ago. In those days, much of Westminster was covered by a great fatty slab of conventional wisdom, under which almost everyone agreed he would never beat the charismatic Boris Johnson. In an effort to break out from this narrative, the Labour leader decided to produce an autobiography to explain where he came from, what he stood for, and how he would change Britain. The reason, however, that leaders of political parties rarely do such books is that it takes up a vast amount of time they generally do not have. After a few months, I was asked to help him stitch together various notes and interviews, and it slowly became clear that Starmer had some reservations about the project. For a start, he kept asking why he would publish his memoirs before having even had the chance to take some decisions in government. He felt uneasy about writing so much about himself, or turning his life into some shining arc of narrative in which he was the hero of every page. He worried a lot about whether it would cause his family to get unwarranted attention from the media, or, worse, put them in danger. And then the political terrain began to be upheaved. Johnson was forced to resign, and his replacement, Liz Truss, lasted just 7 weeks before Rishi Sunak took over. That slab of conventional wisdom flipped itself over. Suddenly, it seemed Starmer didn't need thousands upon thousands of words to explain himself, when just 4 would do. I am not them. In the spring of 2023, we met for a drink in one of the dimly lit pubs he knows in London's Kentish town. Starmer swiftly put his autobiography out of its misery. He then bought another round, and I made the case for another book. My argument was that, even though every opinion poll showed he was heading to Downing Street, most voters still knew little or nothing about him. I said that politics abhors such vacuums, and he risked letting this one be filled by his opponents, just like they had for so many of his predecessors. And I suggested he would never, even with a fair win from the media, be able to tell his story properly in just a single speech, video, or podcast profile. By the end of the evening, we had struck a deal. I would write a book using some of the material already prepared and interview him for some more, while he would encourage others to talk to me too. In return, I promised not to abuse their access nor approach members of his family without permission. The result is not the first book about the Labour leader. At the last count, 3 were available, although none have been written before now with any degree of cooperation. But this biography is not authorised, in the usual sense of the word, because Starmer has neither handed over boxes of correspondence for me to look through, nor had control over what I write. Although I'm fully aware that even the tiniest detail can take on inflated significance ahead of what promises to be a nasty and deeply personal election campaign, I felt it was important that neither he nor his office should have approval over this text. There will probably be elements of this book that he doesn't like or thinks I've got wrong. Writing about someone else's life is inevitably intrusive, and so it's worth saying here that any mistakes in the chapters that follow belong to me alone. At this point, there are plenty of people out there who will say, some politely and others less so, that I'm not exactly an impartial observer. In my own past, I was a pro-Labour journalist who went on to work with limited success as the party's communications director. And, though I don't agree with him on everything, and might still wish he took a different stance on Europe, for instance, it's only fair to warn those hoping to find these pages spattered with blood that they will be disappointed. Nonetheless, I have tried to give as full and fair an account of Labour's leader as I can. It is impossible to tell Starmer's story without acknowledging he has many critics or recognising that, sometimes, they have a point. But it's equally true to say he has
Sample complete. Ready to continue?